Are you here exploring the reasons for wanting to move here?
Yes and no. The same things keep coming up. It's clean, it's safe, it's less tax. And when the cons, it seems like the same things keeps coming up as well. And that's obviously the family. Obviously, you're not as close. But you know what it's like, mate. So I'd probably leave in a heartbeat, to be honest. But
So welcome everybody to another episode of the J2 Hub podcast. Today I am very, very excited because I've got somebody here who was on the very first episode when the podcast was a little bit shaky. We had one silly little mic. I don't even know if it was picking up the audio correctly, but this guy was the first person who graced the podcast. So there was no way I was going to let him leave Dubai, go home to the UK without pinning him down. So for everybody listening or watching, today is a Sunday afternoon. It's normally a family day, but I've been given the green card to come out and interview this guy. Now, you've probably seen him everywhere. He's got this really, really good slogan that everybody knows. I'm going to let him use it a few times throughout the talk that we do today. But lo and behold, Craig, thank you so much, my man, for joining me on the podcast.
no, my pleasure, mate. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, mate.
Absolutely, mate. So listen, I'm going to kick off because straight away, everybody watching this right now is probably thinking, Craig's in Dubai. He's sitting with James. Something must be going on. Now tell us, are you here exploring the reasons for wanting to move here?
Yes and no. Yes
Okay.
and no. So you know what it's like, mate. So I'd probably leave in a heartbeat, to be honest. But it's the wife, and so it's a little renaissance trip for me. I'm doing research, but you know what it's like, mate. If it's your idea, it's a shit idea. When it comes from the missus, then it's like, oh, why didn't I think of that? So
Absolutely.
that's what I'm doing at the moment. So I'm doing a little bit of research, planting seeds. Hopefully, one starts to sprout, and we start looking coming at UAE, either Dubai or Abu Dhabi.
Okay. Well, tell me, mate, listen, so you've been here for what, almost a week or just
Yes.
under a week?
Yes.
So what has your experience been straight away? I mean, looking around, obviously there's a hell of a lot of expats. Probably wherever you've been, you've probably been, hold on a second, that guy's from Essex, that guy's from London. It's like the place is full of people from the UK. What's been your first impressions here? You've been here before, but
yeah.
this time you're here with a different mindset and a different outlook.
Yeah.
What's it been like?
So the last time I was here was 3 years ago, and that was an eye-opener, and that was like attention to detail, how clean it was, how safe it was. Obviously, we've come back again, and everything's kind of just got that little bit better, I think, in terms of everything that was being built has now been built, it's running, it's established, and everyone I speak to, not just people I know, but obviously randoms that you meet on out and about and stuff, you hear their accent, it's like, oh, how long are you out here? Are you on holiday? Are you out here full time? And all of them say the same thing. It's like, we came out here on a whim, we fell in love with it, and now we're raising a family here. And obviously, when I speak to them about the pros and cons, the same things keep coming up. It's clean, it's safe, it's less tax. And when the cons, it seems like the same things keeps coming up as well. And that's obviously the family. Obviously, you're not as close, but yeah, I mean that's kind of what I found. Yeah.
You know what? Ironically enough, for me, when I came out here, I was concerned about family as well. But I found that as soon as we came out here, we actually see our family even more because they make a conscious effort to come out here because they're like, actually, you know what? Craig lives there. Let me just go and back this up with a double holiday or something and go and see him.
Yeah. Can I crash at yours or something? Yeah, that's it. That's a really good point. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. You'll probably find you see your family a lot more. So look, I'm not going to go too much into who you are, what you do, because somebody can go back and listen to the first episode because we went there because, obviously you're heavily into the property game. You have been for a long, long time. You've done some remarkable things, mate. Absolutely. First time we met, I think, come over to your office and your office was not as blingy as it is now.
No.
I've seen the pictures of the office now, like, whoa, this place looks good.
Yeah.
And you were there, like, literally, I think, you were what, maybe, I don't even think you were into double digits then, were you, with property, or were you into property of your own?
I'll probably, I think so. I was probably close to 20, maybe
Okay.
20.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm on 24 now. I've sold one, and I've taken the foot off the accelerator a bit. But yeah, we're still doing some good moves. We lost a little bit on the management side. Again, that's due to the taxation and legislation that have come in that have forced landlords out. A lot of the older landlords with the older stock, they kind of got to a crossroads where Either they need to inject it with another 20, 30 grand just to get it up to kind of spec, or they'll just cash out. So obviously with all the, what's it called? The tax changes that have happened, they've decided to just pull the button on it. And yeah, it's been gutting really. But what's interesting is that there's been no landlords that have come in to replace them. So the student stock in Gillingham, well, in Medway, has been on the decline.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Mate, so look, I'm always bashing the UK. Well, I've been very polite about it recently because I haven't needed to bash it so much because people are just automatically bashing it.
Yeah.
But I want to hear it from you, man. What is actually going on back there? Because you've been so vocal about things, and I love that.
Yeah.
I've been sitting on the back line and I've been wanting to get involved, but I thought, you know what? Let's leave it to the pro, because there's a lot of things, like you called Ben out from NRLA, you know, and all of this. So tell me, man, what's going on? Why are they making it so difficult for everybody?
So obviously, well, it all started with the Renters Reform Bill. So when the Tories had it, and obviously that basically was the biggest shake-up of the rental legislation in 35 years. It started actually when Boris was in power, and then it got dropped at the 11th hour by Rishi. So I thought, fantastic, they're listening, because I predicted that this is absolutely going to decimate the student rental market, because we rely on the fixed term tenancy. It's a mutual benefit. So a student will want a house with us, which is in line with their university term. It's great for us because it secures our income and we can't evict them, which is great. So it's a mutual benefit. But when the Renters' Rights Bill came in and they said, oh, we're going to abolish the fixed term tenancy, that meant that, they can just give literally 2 months notice. And we get it every year, James. Even while I've been out here, I've had people messaging me saying, hi, Craig, I want to terminate my contract. And at the moment, I can push back and say, unfortunately, you've signed a fixed term contract. And the only way you're going to get out of that is if you find a replacement tenant. And so from an income perspective, from a landlord, from a student landlord especially, that kind of guarantees your income, right? So, so you take that away, all of a sudden, you've got so many question marks. What is your income going to be, or your turnover costs are going to increase? And then you've also got to look at how lenders are going to value that, because they obviously know, they see your income and then they see what's coming. And so what I've been very vocal about is like, look, guys, if you're a student HMO landlord, you need to watch this. And that's why I've taken the foot off the accelerator in terms of expanding quite aggressively. Whereas before I was buying houses non-stop, I was getting investors. I just wanted to see how this was going to play out. And it's taken it's been longer than I anticipated, mainly because it's been dropped, it's been picked up, it's been amended, etc., etc. But now Labour have got in, they've kind of picked this hot potato up, injected steroids into it, and now they're running with it, and now they're dead certain. So yeah, from an investor point of view, I see that as quite high risk. So that's why I've been very vocal. And yeah, calling out Ben, because Ben is meant to be the head of our industry. So I had an epiphany one day and I was like, how has this happened? How have we got to a state where they're not thinking about this? Because I can't be the only one that recognises this as an investor. Surely he must know this and he must be saying something. So I started calling him out, got no return. And then he actually blocked me. He actually blocked me. And then thankfully all my followers, big shout out to you guys, you were tagging him in posts and the pressure was continued to build. And then eventually he invited me for a meeting. And yeah, it was a good meet. It was a good meet.
And how did that meeting go down?
So I come away from it feeling very deflated.
Right.
To be brutally honest. And the reason for that is because Ben, just starting with Ben, really nice guy, very knowledgeable about the sector. Presented himself really well, and I thank Ben for the time. But yeah, we kind of got to the crux of it, and I was saying to Ben, like, look, he was reassuring me that lobbying was going on behind the scenes, and I was a bit doubtful. And I said, well, look, if lobbying's going on, it can't be that effective, because look where we are in terms of the legislation that's been pushed through. Like, the landlords are exiting the market at their fastest rate. Like in the last 2 years, 70,000 landlords, property, have exited the market. That's a big chunk, and there's more that's going to roll out. And then Section 24 tax, which is obviously a major thing now. Now that interest rates have increased so much, that means the mortgage that they're paying have gone through the roof. So a lot of landlords are in the red every month now. So if they've taken their normal monthly cash flow, they've gone into the red, and it's no wonder that rents are rising. because it's not just landlords that are forcing it; it's the government policy that are forcing the landlords to raise the rents, right? So this is the kind of the full circle that I was trying to get across to him. So your lobbying isn't really being that effective. So he convinced me that no, it's the worst has happened, Craig, and so I thought, well, the worst for me is rent caps.
Yeah.
Rent caps, obviously, that drives a lot of landlords out of the market. That will just make the whole situation a lot worse. So I pressed him on that, and I said, okay, well, where's your red line? Like, where do you say enough is enough, and then we take to the streets, or then we start putting this aggressive lobbying, as he started to call it, and he kind of just danced around the question. He didn't really give me a straight answer, and that's when I knew at that point that there was going to be no fight, there was going to be no commitment, and quite frankly, we're going to be left on our own. So yeah, I pushed him on that, and I said, well, look, let's agree then that if rent caps do come in, then that's when we lobby. That's your red line. And again, he just didn't want to commit to it. So I think, I mean, respect to Ben, he works very hard within his framework, but a lot of landlords are losing patience and losing hope because of the results. That there are none.
Wow.
And so that's kind of where we left the conversation on that. But the good news is he recognised there was a lack of communication with his members about what he's lobbying for and the results of that lobbying, which I thought was a fair point. I said, yeah, more needs to be done communicating what your wins are, because again, people like me, we're not seeing it, so that's why I'm putting the pressure on. So yeah, it was a really good meeting, and overall, it gave me clarity. It gave me clarity that they are not the landlord's voice anymore.
Mm.
I
mean, look, I've been a member for what I think near on 8-9 years, something like that, and I've always found it to be quite a helpful organisation in the sense that when you go through the resources, if you've got a problem, you can ring the helpline. But when you brought all of this up, I thought, actually, you know what? Maybe because I'm not on the ground anymore, I'm not seeing it daily. It was a big thing. Like this guy, yeah, he should really be fighting our corner as landlords, you know?
Yeah. I mean, just a few ideas that I threw out. And I said, like, if you look in London, every other week there's a protest for rent caps or protest that rents are rising too much. And it's like the attack is on landlords. Always on landlords. Even though they've just had the Renters' Rights Bill, they're still not happy. In fact, I looked on Shelter's X account, and I'm very active on there as well, giving them a bashing on there as much as I can. And they said, the Renters' Rights Bill is the first step. We now want rent caps. We now want rent control. So they're very aggressive on this. And again, there's no one speaking up on behalf of landlords. Not one person. We've got no representation whatsoever. And so while they're in London demonstrating, making noise, putting on pressure, and there's no counter for that, they're going to get away with murder. So that's kind of where I'm thinking, well, enough is enough. Let's kind of put something out there and make a stance against it.
Yeah, because you know what? I think historically landlords have always got a bad press. You know, it's always like you greedy landlord, you slum landlord, you this. But you've just raised some very valid points there. You know, people don't see that the landlords get the shit end of the stick as well. Like you say, a lot of people have been in minus, and I know a few landlords which, you know, they were loving the days when they were on 0.6% rates, and as soon as that change and went to 5%, 4% or whatever it was, now suddenly all of those properties that they had are not profitable anymore. You know, and they're forced to sell.
Yeah. And exactly that. And there's a stance that, oh yeah, well, if the landlords don't own them, then someone will buy them in terms of a home ownership. But if you've got a HMO, which is housing like 6 people that, like you've just told me as well, that have been there 6 years that are happy, all of a sudden that turns into the red, for example, and you've got to turf them out. Then all of a sudden you're net negative accommodation there for someone. And that increases homelessness overall. And this is the thing, this is what I'd love to see, is the correlation of government policy which forces rents to rise, which then forces landlords costs to rise, which then gets passed on to the end tenant every single time. But yet the landlord gets to blame for that. And yet it should be the government policy. And that's why I debate tenants as well. I'm very happy to just say, look, I can completely understand your frustration, but look, we're a business the same way as a farmer, the same way as energy companies. As soon as their fixed costs go up, guess who has to pass it? We have to pass it on. We're not a charity. We can't just absorb all of these costs. So we need to kind of get together, if you like, and point the finger at the government and put pressure in that way. Because at the moment they're pointing the finger at us, and it's just, it's not helping.
Yeah. This whole thing about people being homeless. I mean, you know, recently, especially where I am over in Essex, I never really ever looked at the universal credit market because, we had our pick of professional tenants before. You could go out, get who you want. But suddenly we had a large influx of people coming in that were on universal credits. And then when I got my house manager to start looking at the profiles, I started to feel really sorry for some of these people because some of these people were real professionals in jobs. Like one bloke, for example, I won't mention his name, but he went through a divorce. He lost his house. He literally lost everything. So he was homeless for a while because he couldn't do anything. And then he's gone to the council and they've put him forward to us as a tenant. And when you start looking at it, you think, actually, this guy used to earn a lot of money. He lived in a really nice area. He's just had a shit end of the stick, and you say more and more people like this, all it takes is for a small disaster to happen in their family and they're homeless,
Yeah.
And it was the first time where I started thinking, no, I'm going to start looking at universal credit a little bit differently than I was before, because before you're always like, you know what, they're going to give me someone who's going to give me problems. But now with the way things are going, anyone can give you problems, right?
Absolutely.
Even a professional who's got a good job, got a good previous track record, there's no denying that they could give you issues.
Absolutely. And this is what it comes down to. And I think more and more landlords, when they start to realise it, because half the landlords aren't even talking about it. Like literally, I go to events, I speak to landlords, they go, oh yeah, I love what you're doing in the student-let game. I'm looking to invest. And then I'm like, straight away, I'll stop the conversation. I'm like, why are you getting into student-lets now? like with the renters' rights bill coming, why now? And they just say, oh, well, we like the security of income. I'm like, yes, but when the renters' rights bill comes in, that gets eradicated. There is no security of income per se. Like, yes, okay, you can semi-secure it, but you can't, you're hoping that they stay. They've got the right to leave. That's the difference. So now you've got a fixed term contract. Now the renters' rights bill abolishes that. They've got the right to leave, and you can't, and you're hoping that they stay, and you can't scale a business on hope.
No,
realistically, I don't know about you, but I don't want to scale a business on hope, because that's what will sting you. So yeah, there's been a lot of strategic thinking on my side. Like, luckily, a lot of my recent ones are all en suite, so we can pivot, and we're going to offer that to the professional market, which again is quite strong, and it is gaining momentum in Gillingham. Admittedly and historically, Gillingham is a bit of a low income area, but because of the price of London, we're seeing a lot more people come to the Medway towns and seeing it as great value. Yeah. So I want to kind of tap into that market, especially with those all ensuite HMOs. But the problems are going to be for my landlords and for some of my stock that I bought really early on, that are in, I kind of visualize it as 3 buckets. So bucket 1 is the easy pivot with the all ensuite. The second bucket is which could go either way, and that could either go to professionals or it could go to family lets. Mm-hmm. And then the final bucket is the typical 4 bedrooms terraced with 1 kind of bathroom, which if you presented that to a professional, they'd walk straight out. They're like, no chance, I'm not sharing with 4 others. So that stock, actually, when I've done the numbers, I might hand some of my personal stock to the council or to a trust, who then pay obviously guaranteed rent. And by the time you factor in void periods and stuff like that, with the higher turnover, as well as all bills increasing and maintenance, it's not too far off where you would be. So yeah, that's kind of what I've categorized my portfolio that I both own and manage, and I'm in the process of talking to the current landlords that I've got to prepare them for that, because I don't think this will really play out for another year yet, until it becomes law. A year after that, that's when people go, oh my god, have you seen my income? It's just dropped because I've had arrears here, well, not arrears, voids, because people are allowed to leave. And with that comes the higher turnover costs, like the cleaning, the inventories, the agent costs, people do tenant fines and stuff. So again, no one's talking about it. So that's why I'm very vocal about this is a bad move, but the government seem not to care. They know what's going on, but they just don't care.
I mean, look, I've just gone through it myself with a tenant that I had. Beautiful property, renovated it, lovely, spent about 150 grand on it. There was nothing wrong with it. She was good as gold first year, good as gold second year, good as gold the third year. And then she started realizing there was certain stuff she could get away with. Being a mother of 2 young children, she started playing the card that her husband left her. It wasn't even her husband, her fella left her, all of this. And, in the end, she made up every excuse. She got an environmental order against us to say that the property was unsafe because there was one little drip coming from one of the skylights. She tried to say it damaged her furniture. One little plastic flap kind of opened and must have hit her on her head. And it was this couldn't injure anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And she tried to say, I got a concussion from it and all of this. So obviously the council being a council sending an order. But when they came around and had a look at the house, they're like, actually, what are you talking about? There's nothing wrong with the place. But this one, we lost 11 months worth of rent, took her to court, all of those. In the end, I worked out that we lost somewhere around £36,000 from that place. And you're thinking to yourself, what was it even worth it?
Yeah.
You know? And this is the first time in 20 years that I've ever sold anything. So I've actually sold something now off the portfolio, gone, prime London area, because I'm thinking to myself, can I see this getting better in my lifetime?
Yeah.
Will it get better in my lifetime? Being 43 now, if I live till 80, will it get back to where it was when we first started? I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I'm very, very nervous.
And this is the thing. It's like that's a perfect example. Like all of before it was a relatively skewed, I'd say, playing field towards tenants. But now that everything that's coming in, like you said, the risk reward is completely skewed now. Like way more risk, less reward. And it's driving out investment. Again, I think that's what the landlord wants, because again, the very hot off the press is Angela Rayner is pushing for a build to rent scheme, like on a mass scale up and down the country.
I see that on your Instagram. Yeah.
So you're looking at these mass blocks going up, and some. I mean, again, it's very early days, and I've just read into top line stuff. But there's some of them are saying, well, these are just going to be the future slums of the UK, unless they're maintained to a very high standard and they're managed correctly. Otherwise, you're just going to end up with these blocks after about 5 to 10 years, right?
It's really funny you say that, future slums, because we've got really nice communities here in Dubai, and they are like clusters. You go in, they look very lovely, nice facilities. And a guy in from the UK, I said, why don't we have these in the UK? Why don't we have like these really nice communities? He goes, James, we do. They're called council estates. And I thought, you know what? He's got a fucking point. It's just what you said there. Even if you tried to do it, if it doesn't go the right way, you're right. It'll just end up as a high-riser and have a load of shit in there, and it'll just be a degraded property.
Exactly, full of crime and abuse, domestic abuse and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. And so it seems like we're going back to that. Like they always say, like history repeats itself, and I think that is definitely the way we're going, especially with this government, and they're not helping things as well.
Yeah.
I mean, whether you're for Labour or against Labour, I think you just got to look at the polls at the moment. They're at the they've lost the lead. Obviously, Reform are gaining momentum, because obviously they're all about the change, and I think they want to. I think the reason why they're leading the polls at the moment is because of the fresh air that they bring. So they're definitely one to vote for. And as a landlord as well, looking at all of the parties on the table with policies, I'd say the Reform were the landlord party at the last election. Whether that stays true in the next election, we'll see, because there's now rumours that Bojo, sorry to go all political, but now Bojo might rear his head again and come through for the Tories. So it's all going on in the UK in terms of political. But yeah, I think the big concern on all landlords' thoughts at the moment is the Renters' Rights Bill and Labour, because they're not making things easy for us. It was always going to be the case, don't get me wrong, but yeah, now I think as time is playing out, I think it's going to get a lot worse.
Yeah. Well, Craig, look, someone who's been in property for quite a while, like yourself, you've got a diverse range of stuff that you're doing. If some landlords listen to this right now thinking, okay, shit, man, I'm quite worried, what can they be doing right now?
So pivot, get ready to pivot. Just be honest with yourself as well. So know your market. So if you're heavily reliant on the student market like I am, then you've got to look at other options, because I can promise you now that like someone who's at the front line every day, we get people on a probably weekly, bi-weekly basis try and exit the agreement. And sometimes it's got nothing to do with what the landlord's done. It's got nothing to do with what I've done. It's literally where they've fallen out with a housemate. Mary's, I don't know, nicked her milk or come in pissed and played music and disrupted her. And now they want to leave. They're like, look, Craig, this place is not for me anymore. And now they want to leave. So there's all of that you've got to kind of factor in, which is completely out of your control. But now, because of the Renters' Rights Bill, they've got every right to leave. So be honest. So look at worst case scenarios. Look at, what happens when tenants give notice. What happens if you have to do high turnover costs, if the boiler goes. Factor that in. And just do your research, but make sure you pivot, or you've got the option to pivot to another market or another segment. So like I said, those 3 buckets I was referring to, like I've done the research, I've spoken to the council, the trusts, guaranteed rent providers, so that as a plan C, if plan A doesn't work, plan B doesn't work, plan C does work, then I've got my options. So that's where you want to be, is having options. So I'd say that's the best thing, and just be brutally honest with yourself. And that's it.
Do you think this is going to kill a lot of landlords?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think, like I said, I think after it's played out and people start getting their tax returns in and like, oh my God, I've made literally like half of what I made last year. Why is that? And when the HMO agent or something like that says, oh yeah, because we had higher turnover costs and then there was voids. And like, and this is the killer, which I think, if I was in this situation, I'd be shitting myself even more, is if you're in a very heavily, densely populated student area where you were getting top valuation, commercial valuations for like 8 beds, and they were being valued because of the location of them. All of a sudden, now all of that's changed in terms of now students can leave when they can. So your rented costs are your mortgage costs are super high. Yes, okay, you can charge £800 a room or £1,000 a room in some instance, but when they're turning over every 2 months or every 6 months, worst case, then your profit's going to nosedive.
Yeah,
and when you've got high mortgage costs to bear in mind, some people are going to lose sleep at night. They have to run at 100% to make their profit. Whereas I think with the Renters' Rights Bill, it could put an end to that. And again, another problem is, how do you then find tenants mid-term? Let's just say 2 of them say, do you know what, I'm off now. I've done my exams, whatever. I'm leaving. Those 2 rooms are your profit. Who are you going to get there to fill those 2 rooms mid-term? Because all the other students are in term. They've already got focus. They've already got rooms or tenancies. And you could try and put on the professional market, but as soon as professionals walk in, go, bloody hell, this is a student house. Forget this. I'm out. So again, there's all of that you got to contend with, and that's why I'm saying be prepared. Like, model, like best case, worst case, and you'll hit in between. But that's why you've just got and someone on the front line. This is why I see it for what it is because I'm dealing with these situations day in, day out, and it's just like, okay. Whereas before we had the bottom line where we were protected, that's now gone.
Yeah, because something you touched on there where you said even the lenders are looking at this differently now. I had it recently and it's all making sense now. We remortgaged a HMO recently, and this was the first time where they wanted to see, they always want to see the tenancies anyway, but this was the first time where they were saying, okay, we want to go back 12 months and I want to see the actual rents against the tenancies.
Yeah.
So now they're looking at the income as well, like you said.
Exactly that.
And I'm thinking, okay, you just hit something there. How much more difficult is it going to be for people if you've got 2 or 3 rooms void and a lender can see that for the last 6 months or the last 3 months, and historically people have been building HMOs in, say, Birmingham, Coventry, all of those areas, buying a house for 250 grand, spending 200 on it, getting a valuation for 800 grand, taking the money out, going again. Is that model now dead?
Well, I'd say it's not as big. It will be a tax, that's for sure. So let's just say they get the 800k valuation. They're on their fixed rate, then they go in for a remortgage, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, it's now worth 700,000 or 600,000 because it's not prime student anymore because of the risk associated with student lets now.
Yeah.
So exactly, it throws a real spanner in the works. Or what they'll do is they'll ask you to leave more money in the deal, so they'll stop all that money out. So
that heavy gearing, right?
So they'll get you that way as well, which I think they're already starting to do, to be honest with you.
So Craig, what would you say if, like you say, you go to all these events, you're quite well known, everybody hits you up. What would you say to people that are there on the fence now, thinking, you know what, I want to get into property in the UK? Like, because I see it. I see it on social posts. Oh, you know what? I've got 100 grand. I'm going into property. I've done this property course. I'm going to get myself into the real estate game. What would you say to them? Because I'm nervous myself right now, and I've been in it a long time. Yeah. What would you say to someone who's fresh looking to get into it?
So again, I speak with someone who's got quite a vast portfolio. So I've taken the foot off in that aspect. But it all depends on your area, your research, right? So if you came to me and go, Craig, look, I've seen a gap in the market, the service is crap and stuff like that, which I did at the start, then I'd say go in. Make sure you do your numbers though, and play out the different models. But I always say in this environment, like I said, there'll be landlords that are exiting, old landlords that have had enough of the red tape and the high taxation, and they're the ones that you want to target, and they're the ones you'll get a good deal with. So yeah, if you're fresh to the game, just make sure you get the right advice, do your numbers, and yeah, just make sure you just crunch those numbers, because that's what's going to sting you at the end, especially if you've either got a bad tenant and it takes and this is another thing I haven't even touched on yet, but when all of this starts to play out, when there's notices going in, when there's a crippled court system already, and then you've got this rush coming in on top of that, this is where it gets scary. It's like, how long will it take to evict that tenant if they're in arrears now? Bearing in mind where we are right now compared to where we're going to be with all the increase in numbers, all the increase in rents, the economy's tanking a little bit at the moment as well. So you've got all of that side, which I don't want to scare everyone watching, but again, you've got to think about this stuff because that could be the make or break of the deal. But yeah, sorry to touch on that. The advice would be do your numbers, do your due diligence, and just try and cover all aspects.
Yeah, and you know what? Just to add to that, what I would say to landlords out there right now is make sure you've done everything you need to do. Because I had this when we had our court hearing date to get our possession order.
Yes.
Right at the last minute, the judge goes, "Have you given her a how to rent guide?" And in my head, I'm thinking, "Fuck, have I given her a how to rent guide? Have I given her how?" When I'm there, you got to imagine I'm in Dubai, so my uncle's dealing with this. He's ringing me, "Have you given her a how to rent guide?" And I'm thinking, okay, emails, checking everything, going back on the emails, like, oh my God, I haven't given her a how to rent guide. But because I use Arthur Online, I've gone back into Arthur Online and I've seen when we've created that tenancy that the emails that went out to her from Arthur Online sent her a how to rent guide, and she replied saying, "Thank you for all the information." Was able to take a screenshot of that, send that in. But I'm thinking, imagine if I hadn't had that, would he have just declined the possession order?
Been thrown out, exactly, and you'd have had to start the whole process again.
Exactly.
Yeah, which costs more money, more time. Yeah, it's scary, right?
Yeah. So all of you landlords out there watching who haven't done, you haven't got your certs in place, you haven't got, well, you should have your certs in place, but you haven't got all of that in place, you haven't done what you're supposed to be doing, I'd say now's probably a good time to clean everything up, right?
Definitely. Now more than ever, because it's only going to get more difficult. Exactly that. And this is where you weigh up the decision whether you want to self-manage or whether to allocate it out to a good agent. And so self-managing, yes, it saves you money, but then again, it's the whole risk. You're fully accountable then. So if you haven't served the correct paperwork, even the right edition. So now there's that how to rent guide. So there's different editions that come out. So even if you sold them like the old, sent them the old edition, it would still get thrown out because it was like 2 months out of date, even though it's exactly the same pretty much, and there's just a few tweaks. So there's stuff like that you need to watch out for. It's a bit of a minefield.
Yeah. So Craig, something you said to me earlier in the message was you're not acquiring anymore, right? Is that
at the
correct?
moment? Yeah. Well, I'm not going guns blazing. I'm being very, very picky.
Yeah.
And like I said, the numbers have to stack at a really, really good level. Otherwise, I'll let it go.
Because you were really aggressive. Like, every other week you'd see a set of keys. Acquired another one. And you, from what I remember, the first time we spoke, you had this really good investor model that you used to do as well, right?
Yes.
Where your investors were working with you. So if you're not heavily acquiring now, what is the game plan moving forward?
Just to relax a bit, take the foot off the bait and enjoy it. And like I said, I've got this this lobbying movement that's really building and taking momentum up now.
Yeah.
So that's going to take up a lot of time because I want to do it properly. So I've already spoke to Met Police. They've basically said, you've got, it's your right to protest. So that's your God-given right. You can do that. Once you've got numbers for like a plan, then we'll allocate a police liaison officer.
Yeah.
And then you could communicate with them, and then all of a sudden it's a goer. So that's kind of where we are now. So once I've come out, obviously I've put a pin in it, come out here, enjoying my holiday, and then when I get back, that's what I'm going to do because. I also asked him for tips, like, so what do you recommend? Any tips? He said, well, my number one advice is try and get a sunny day because so many people don't turn up when it's either cold, raining, or really bad weather. So I was like, well, that's great. But so that's why I don't want to do it immediately. I want to give it a lot of thought. I want to do some branding around it, and really round up like the troops, really like big names in property, so that we can all get behind it. And just go down there and absolutely crack it.
So
and
there won't
do a
be none of this
job.
like painting the roads red or gluing yourself to the streets, lying down in front of buses.
No. We want a professional movement, and that's exactly what we want. We don't want to riot or kick off or anything like that. It'll be a peaceful exchange, but we just want to get the voice out there, just to say that, look, landlords have had enough, and you need to start listening, because things are just going to get worse otherwise.
Of course. Well, Craig, let's take this back to Dubai now. I mean, I'm a new landlord here in Dubai myself. In our third year, and we've acquired a few properties now. We wanted to go aggressive here while the market was good. I don't see any of these issues going on here that we have in the UK. Like, it's been so nice. Like, you know, here, even when you vet a tenant, you're vetting them based on everything that they do, obviously their job, their earnings, whatever they tell you. But then when you raise their contract, which is called an Ajari contract, it's raised over at a government office and it's linked to their Emirates ID. Now, the Emirates ID carries all their damn information. So if something doesn't match up, it's going to flag straight away and you're going to know as a landlord. And I think this is such a simple thing and it's all run off apps. Why the fuck haven't we got this back home in the UK?
It beggars belief, exactly that. And the thing that blows my mind as well is that every time I come here, there's like, I don't know, 15 new blocks that I didn't see before.
Yeah.
And yet we struggle to build like a couple of houses in a certain area because of all the NIMBYs and all. So it's just exactly that, taking example of people or a country that is doing it right and learning from them, or doing it even better. I completely agree. I think it blows my mind as to why things are so painful and backwards in the UK. But like I said, I think people are stirring, and I think change will happen.
I mean, even look, the mortgage process out here, the mortgage process was so fantastic. Like, I went for they call it a low document mortgage. So it wasn't heavily geared. But when I went in for this mortgage, they asked me for some bank statements. They asked me for some ID docs. I've got a decision in principle in 48 hours. And I've got a final offer letter 10 days later. And the loan is drawn down a week later. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, why can't this be as easy as this? And then I'm logging into the bank and I can see the loan there on the bank account. And as every payment goes out, I can see the loan going further down. And you're thinking, okay, so you're telling me I don't have to wait for a yearly mortgage statement. I can see exactly where I am at any point in the month.
Exactly.
You know, and you can see your interest element. You can see how much is being paid down. And for someone like, obviously, being in the UK, when you're doing a portfolio review or your broker wants some information, you're panicking around this year's mortgage statements, these bank statements, and you're thinking, why has this country, which is only, 53 years old, 54 years old, how have they managed to get it better than a country like the UK that's historically had all this time to sort it out?
Exactly. And the analogy is the UK now is like one of those old 5-star hotels where it claims to be 5-star, but when you go in there, it's all tired, it's dated, and that's kind of the analogy. And yet you come to a proper 5-star, which is like Dubai, modern, new, does everything streamlined, and then you just literally see the difference, chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, you've got the British history and all of that goes with it. But yeah, with the daily systems and processes, they're just it's completely chalk and cheese that the UAE have done it absolutely bang on the money. And you just see the results of it, right? Like you're bigging it up, and the transactions are quicker, easier. And like, even to the granular details, so like paper statements that get sent to you on a yearly basis, or an app, which is all there. Exactly. Just those little subtle tweaks.
Yeah.
And then it just makes things much easier.
Yeah. See, this is what I'm really finding interesting, because people say to me, "Oh, James, you're always bashing the UK." I've said, listen, I'm not bashing the UK. I'm genuinely quite upset with the way it's gone. They're like, yeah, but the UK was good to you. And I said, I'm not denying it. It was good to me, and it's still very good to me because I'm still earning from there. But I'm upset at the way things are going. You know, I'm genuinely hurt. How has it gone like this? You know, how is it when I go back to the UK, I don't want to be there any longer. You know, if I'm there for more than 3 or 4 days, I'm thinking to myself, shit, I need to get out and get back to where I was, because everybody's just doom and gloom, and you can see why it's happening because it's coming from the fucking powers that be.
Mm-hmm. And this is the thing, is that you're frustrated, right? Because you come across the pond and you think, why isn't the heads of our state doing this or streamlining this as a project? Because the benefit would be absolutely like staggering, wouldn't it? It'd be absolutely staggering. Yeah. So no, I'm with you. And I think the UK has lost its competitive touch. I mean, it's becoming over-regulated, lots of tax. We're being the highest taxation in 40 years, or since World War II, which is crazy. And everything is diminishing. And yeah, like you come here, no tax. Yes, all right, there's pros and cons with that. But everything just seems to flow nicely, and it's the work-life balance as well, which again I think the UK is lacking there as well. You lose the safety, you lose the quality of living, then what else have you got until people start really kicking off and leaving like you've done, mate? Yeah.
Do you think you can still call it Great Britain?
Well, yeah, I think so. As a patriot, I'd say always great. Again, just because of the history and the people there. And again, it's not because of the people; it's because of the people running it. Yeah, they're running it into the ground. Yeah. So you take them out, and fingers crossed that they do something great with it, and it comes back out like a phoenix from the ashes.
Yeah, I hope so too.
That's what we need.
You know, because you look at the royal family here, right? You look at the Sheikh, his son. Yeah, they're everywhere. But I think I'm almost certain they must sit back of an evening and think, look, that country's doing this wrong. That country's doing this wrong. They've done it like this. Let's improve it. Let's do it better.
Do it better, bigger and better. Exactly.
You know, and the fact is that there's just one family making a decision, and things are done. So if they say, right, we're bringing in a new road, or I remember a few years when I got here, people were laughing at the UAE saying, oh, there's no metro system, it's not connected, there's no public transport, you know, and then suddenly the Sheikh announces this new plan to have this new metro going, and I shit you not, Greg, within 3 years, I'm in my 3rd year, I saw it being built, and I'm like, fuck, they've gone from here all the way around there to there. They've put up pillars, they've built a bridge, they've got the trains running on it, and you're thinking, like, back home, I'm comparing it to the Elizabeth line. How long did that take? Or the HS1 extension?
Yeah, exactly.
Or all of this nonsense. And you're thinking, man, it took so long to bore a flipping hole through the ground. And these guys are talking about now Elon Musk signed an agreement with them with some new hyper tunnel that's going in underground. And you think, everybody is just getting left behind, and these guys are just years and years and years in front.
Exactly. They're innovators. They've got fresh ideas, and that's exactly what we're craving for, I think, in the UK. Yeah. And otherwise, what's going to happen? You're just going to lose all of those creative and inspiring people, and they're going to come to places like this because that's what they're attracted to, and be surrounded by these fresh ideas and the opportunity. That's what they crave.
Yeah. So, Craig, let me ask you a question. So, if you were in charge.
Yes.
Yeah. Somebody said, there you go, Craig. You know, we love what you're doing. Yeah, big up the grafters. Let's get this guy in power. Yes. What would you do straight away to make things better?
So I'm a big fan of what Argentina have done. So Milei, he's gone in there. They're in a dire strait, and basically similar to what the UK's done. So it's over-regulated. So they've got shit ton of offices just over-regulating everything. What he's done is his campaign was with a chainsaw. Like, that was one of his famous moves. He was driving like out of a sunroof holding a chainsaw saying, I'm going to make changes. And yeah, he's basically just slashed all of this government. It's kind of like Doge, what Elon's doing over in America. He's going in there, he's cutting out all of the departments, because what regulation is, it just strangles you on every front. So you can't do things a certain way, and I'm not saying scrimp on safety or anything like that. That's super important. And there needs to be policing on that. But just like, I don't know, ridiculous legislation that needs to go. And again, I'm not an expert in this, and I'm sure there are people who are, but yeah, that's the first thing I'd do. And then the next thing is the taxation on it as well. I'd kind of refigure the taxation so that people get to keep a lot more of their money. And again, that builds up confidence, that gives people opportunity, and they start spending. And I think Elon said it was where if you let people keep what they earn more, then they end up spending more, and then that's ultimately a net benefit for the economy, because you end up getting more tax. Like, for example, with stamp duty, that's gone up now, and research has been that all of these stamp duty mix-ups, they're actually worse off than as if they left it the same on the current rate of purchases. They'd be a lot better off. But because they put the taxation on, it's actually tivered off, so they're worse off.
Yeah.
So those are the simple things that I would probably do. I say they're simple, but if I was in charge, that's where I'd start. I'd get an expert and say, right, what legislation doesn't need to be there? Get rid of it. What taxation can we give people, and where can we gain it from? Right, let's use that. So that's what I would do. Straight from the off.
It's just one thing you said there, like give people more money so they can spend more money and you get more tax back, right?
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense when you think about
they're
it.
rich, or richer, and people are more joyful. They'll go out, they'll treat others. Yeah, absolutely. It's just, again, it just baffles my mind, mate.
Yeah. I mean, here we've got a standard 4% DLD, which is equivalent to stamp duty, regardless of what you buy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you buy something for £500,000, it's 4%. You buy something for 20 million quid, it's 4%.
Mm.
And everybody knows it's just a standard fixed amount.
Yeah.
You can't get away from it. It's not going to be scaled up based on what you're buying or whether you've got a second property or a third property, whatever. It's standard fixed for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a nice, clean system.
Yeah, exactly. Simple, easy. Exactly, simple and easy, straightforward. Everyone gets it. Doesn't deter investment. Whereas, you look at the renters' rights bill, for example. You don't know whether you come in or go in, shopping and changing, and people are like, do you know what? Forget this. I'm out.
Yeah.
And obviously the rental income that depends on whether you're a higher earner or a lower earner, whether you've got a limited company, and so it's just very complex. That's exactly what I'd say as well. It's nice, simple structure.
Yeah.
Especially for tax.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. So, Craig, when we first spoke, I think you just bought your lovely new house.
My home.
Yeah. You just got it, I think. Or you hadn't just got it. You were about to get it. You told me about it. You showed me a picture of it.
Yeah.
I remember. And you were about to be a father then.
Yes.
So a couple of questions I want to ask you now. As a father, 2 lovely girls, lovely family.
Yeah.
Do you fear for them growing up in the UK now?
Mate. Yes, is the answer to that. And I'd say the big thing for me is the LBGQ kind of stance it scares the absolute crap out of me. It's where they can identify, and I've watched a few documentaries, maybe I've scared myself into it, but the fact is you've got this beautiful girl, gets in with the wrong crowd, they brainwash her thinking that she's another sex, it confuses her, then they go for the next level, which is the whole stain blockers, the emotional blockers, and then all of a sudden that's it, she's down that road then. And then what you're seeing as well is people then later on regret that decision, but by that time it's too far gone. Like any parent, I think that they're absolutely terrified of it. So yeah, that's something that I'm absolutely terrified of. Yeah, definitely, and
because we had it with our youngest. Our youngest was 6 years old, and he's in primary school. He was in a very good primary school, local state school, but very good. And a couple of things what I didn't like there was that, number one, there was oral sex being taught on the curriculum now, and I'm thinking, he doesn't even know what his dingling is. Why does he need to know about this?
Yeah.
And then the most confusing thing for me, like you, mate, there was a parent who was letting the boys dress up as girls, and her response was, I let them be as free as they want and they can express themselves. And I'm thinking, you're confusing the shit out of my son, because yesterday he was Jake and today he's Jessica. He's got his nails painted and he's got a Wonder Woman outfit on at a birthday party. Now, this might just be innocent, but when you're looking at the parents and you're thinking, actually, you know what? These guys are a bit wishy-washy anyway, because they're allowing this shit.
Yeah.
You're confusing the shit out of these 2 boys. And it's like, that for me, that was really, really worrying. Oh, and the fact that a kid can identify as a cat.
Yeah.
And sit there in the corner of the room, able to express themselves as a cat. I'm thinking, is it just me or has the world gone fucking nuts?
It's gone crazy. Exactly that. So no, I think, for me, I like the idea. That's how I grew up, with 2 direct sexes.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable with that. And if Sienna and if Sophia at the age of 18 turn around to me and say, Craig or Dad, I want to be this, I want to be that, fine. You're 18, you're an adult. Obviously, I don't condone it, but I'll be against it, or I won't give it my blessing. But you're right, you're an adult.
Yeah.
But for that to happen under my watch as a parent from now until 18, I wouldn't.
Hell no.
Yeah, it's exactly that's where I draw the line.
Absolutely.
So that's where I'm like, no,
Yeah, I mean, I was listening to a podcast on the way up here by Andy Frisello, and he was talking about this very same thing, and he's talking about Trump, and he was saying, look, you guys that are out there lobbying and doing all of this for your movement, you're 0.4% of 1% of people. Yeah. And Trump's made it very clear that there's two sexes, male or female. And his bottom line on this podcast was just shut the fuck up and leave it where it is. Nobody needs to know about it. You don't need to be out there vocal about it and telling everybody else, because no one frankly gives a crap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
And this is what I love about the UAE, mate. I remember there was a Spider-Man film that was about to be released, and my kid was really excited about going to see it. And then suddenly somebody spotted a rainbow flag, LGBT flag, in one of the scenes. And, the film was advertised, and overnight, bang, it's not going to be shown anymore. It's out.
Oh, wow.
It's not going to go.
Yeah.
And when I started here in real estate 3 years ago, I met a gay guy in a club, not in a club. I met him in the brokerage.
Yeah.
And he came back like a week later and he had a black eye. And I go, what happened to you? He goes, well, I decided to kiss my boyfriend in a nightclub. And I'm thinking in my head, for fuck's sake, man, you know what the rules are. Just stick with them, be what you want to be. But it's like, no one's putting up with that here. And mate, I've got nothing against it, but I don't want it in my face. I don't want it in my kids' face.
Yeah.
I want my kids to make up their own mind on what they want to do.
Exactly. And in some ways, I totally respect that, because that's the rules over here, right? And so that defines this culture, it defines everything. And I think that's where the UK as well have been a little bit lax, is that they want to please everyone and everything. And they've kind of lost their way. And that's why we've got riots, but we've got protests, we've got all kinds of things where I think local and residents of the UK are seeing the difference, and now they're thinking, do you know what? And that's why Reform, again, hate to keep bringing them into it, but that's why they're gaining momentum, is because they're the ones exactly like the Trumps and the Millets and stuff like that. They're saying, no, we want to go back to the tradition of this country and these values, and this is what we're doing. And they've got that strength and the direction, which I think people are craving for it.
Yeah. Craig, something that a lot of the UK people say to me when I say, Dubai is fantastic, they're always like, oh yeah, but it's under Islamic law. Women can't do this. Women can't do this. Women can't wear this. They can't do this. Like someone like you who's been coming at it for quite a while now, how much of obviously I've not witnessed any of that. Like people say, oh, a woman has to be fully covered up, because people have this real weird way that Dubai, you can't do nothing. How much of that have you seen when you've been out here? I mean,
none whatsoever. Like everywhere we've gone, like we've gone to malls, we've gone to brunches, we've gone to other hotels. It's just like a normal westernized area. Don't get me wrong, you've got women that choose to cover up, and that's fine. But in terms of like women that they don't get hounded, they don't get like looked at. It's exactly the same as summer in the UK. I'll be dead honest. Like that's something that I think my wife is a bit iffy about, but she's absolutely fine and comfortable with it now. Even just out of respect, Danielle will say, look, we've just left the beach, she'll have like a scarf like just to cover over her shoulders or something like that.
Sure.
But that's it. But there's no one told her to do that, or there's no sign saying, oh, you have to cover up. It's just very easy going.
So I wanted to ask you that question, because I have a lot of people, like if I put a post out there about Dubai, they're like, oh yeah, but women can't do this, women can't drive, women can't, and I'm like, dude, where are you? You stuck back in the dark ages, because none of that happens. Because I've been down the mall and I've seen women wear whatever they want to wear.
Yeah,
no one's saying anything. And one thing I've realized about Dubai is that as long as you're respectful to the faith, which you should be, because it is an Islamic country, and I think a lot of the reasons why it's such a positive country is because there is some kind of religion behind it. There is some kind of faith, and people respect that. And I think that kind of keeps things in line. Whereas I feel in the UK, maybe there isn't anything like that, which is keeping the place in line. I'm not Islamic myself, but some of the values that they've got and some of the things that they do, I'm all for it, because I think it really does provide a positive environment for the thing, for like you hear the prayers in the morning. I don't know what they mean, but I know they sound good. I know there's something peaceful about the prayers. And then when a friend of mine translated them to me, I was like, damn, that's some powerful words.
Yeah.
So I really do feel that the Islamic values that the country have is adding to its appeal.
Experience as well. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I
completely agree. I've heard the prayers throughout the day, and it's quite soothing at times. I think, like, it's like it's not everyone doesn't just drop down and start praying or anything like that. Obviously, they've got allocated prayer rooms and stuff like that. But in the tourist resorts, again, it's really easy going. You just get on with your day. They're just playing on in the background, and it's absolutely fine. But it's nice. It's quite soothing, and it adds to the experience.
Yeah. I mean, I say to everybody, like, look, Dubai is a place where you can grow massively. You know, in all ways, you know, physically, mentally, whatever you want to do, you can grow whatever way you want to grow. And the country wants to help you to grow. Yeah. That's what I found as well. Like, I've been able to connect with some phenomenal people. You know, I've met some A-list celebrities out here, and it's been really not like fanboy type thing, but just picking their brains. And you see somebody doing really well in a field, they're quite happy to have a coffee with you, sit down and explore things. You can connect with really specialist people. It's like, I find like back home, people don't really want to share secrets anymore. You know, it's kind of like, I've got this sewn up. It's all for myself. I'm not sharing it with you. You know, whereas here it's a growth mindset. That's the word I'm looking for.
And that's what I get. Like even to the point where you're talking to people in the lift. Yeah. Like we spoke to some Canadians. Like they were just like, yeah, well, we're at floor 10, apartment 15. If we don't see you around and you want to know more, come and have a chat with us. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of if you want to know more, because I said I had my family with me and we're looking to migrate. Like, what's your opinion? Like they had all the time for you, which again in the UK that's unheard of. Yeah, like completely unheard of. So even from that level, let alone when I'm networking at a business event, I'm sure it'll be that on steroids. So
absolutely, man.
So exactly, it's really refreshing, I think. Yeah.
So Craig, look, it's been an hour already, mate. To wrap this up, if you do decide to come out here, what's the game plan, man? Everyone's probably thinking, what is that grafter going to do when he comes out here?
I'll have to reassess, but it's big on crypto out here, isn't it? In terms of,
huge.
Exactly. And they're having this, like this whole part of the city where it's just crypto, or this building at the first, but I'm sure that'll expand. So yeah, I'm heavily invested into crypto. So possibly, venture into that, but yeah, it's a big if, James, but we'll see. But yeah, that's it. And trying to create all the systems and processes in the UK for my current business, so I'm nearly there with that. I'm out here, which is a start, so that's good. So yeah, just to wrap that up, and then just come over here and enjoy life, mate, a bit more, and grow up the girls in a nice, safe environment. That's kind of my priority, is the family.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Look, you wouldn't go wrong here. With the schools are fantastic. There's loads for the missus to do. I can't say it enough, mate. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't a great place to be.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly everyone I speak to about it says exactly the same thing. So.
Yeah. And I'm seeing more and more people through our network coming out here, like, you know, through the property network. I see recently Alfred's out here now. Like, I know he used to make a trip out here now and again, but now he's here. Yeah. You know, and that was an avid guy who I would have thought, no, his whole business is in the UK. His whole, you know, HMO style thing is there, but he's here now.
Big in Coventry,
Yeah, and there's another big name who's moving here in April. I probably can't say his name because I'll tell you afterwards, but, you know, he confirmed that he's coming out here with his whole family. So I'm just like, whoa, all the good guys from the UK are coming here. It's just going to be a fantastic place to be, man.
Yeah, that excites me as well. It's just that I've been watching, obviously, yourself and others who have come out. And mate, it looks like you're having a riot out here. Yeah. Like your lifestyle is fantastic. So
absolutely.
So, yeah, it's all good.
Well, Craig, listen, it's been a pleasure, mate. It always has. I really appreciate you coming out and seeing, especially as it's been a holiday.
Yeah, no worries.
And no doubt we'll catch up soon. But listen, you gotta give us that line on that camera, the slogan, so everybody hears it, and we've got it live on the podcast.
Well, James, it was an absolute pleasure to be here. Big up the Grafters.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks, mate.